Welcome to all three of you. We've got a lot to get to. So I'm going to start with you, Laura, because you're the, intelligence lady. How worried should we be about the things that I just talked about? The fact that, last October, there were warnings being sent out before we knew anything about the National Archives or Mar-a-Lago or boxes or any of that. But the intelligence community was freaking out because people were getting picked off and they didn't know why. And they sent out the warning all around the world. And now we're learning that these boxes have been in the pool room for like a year and a half.
This is extremely important. Every document that is marked HCS, no foreign, etc., all the markings you went through are marked that way because they protect sources and methods. And by that, we're talking about actual human beings. And the paper trail that could be obtained by, I'm sure we'll talk about this, random foreign nationals wandering into Mar-a-Lago can be exploited. People can be hunted down. They can be arrested. They can be assassinated. They can be executed. And in some countries, even entire families are punished because someone works for a foreign country. No one in the United States is above the law, including former President Donald Trump. And I think it's really important that this case goes forward because it reassures our allies and who share information with us and the brave men and women who volunteer to work for the United States to report on things like pending terrorist attacks, weapons of mass destruction, all sorts of threats to our country and our people, and frankly, democracy and the Western world. So this is really, really serious.
Well, there's the list of all the things that were marked in these boxes that Donald Trump had. And I understand the arguments of Trump supporters that he's the president and he's allowed to have that stuff and he's allowed to declassify that stuff. But that doesn't mean he's allowed to continue to have it. Some of that stuff isn't actually legally allowed to be in the presence of a former president, regardless of whether he waved that wand, which constitutionally he is allowed to do. So don't let anyone tell you he's not allowed to. He is. But that's not the issue here. So, Fred, I get so worried when I hear people, making veiled threats or suggesting veiled threats that there's going to be blood that runs in the streets if you, indict the president, the former president. And I know that prosecutors really get their backs up when they hear that kind of stuff, because that's what you do for a living. You follow the law, and you're not supposed to be threatened or cajoled to not do it.
No, and I, for one, and I'm sure I speak for a lot of prosecutors, we don't respond very well to threats. We don't respond well to intimidation. We don't respond well to coercion. In fact, if anything, we kind of double down our efforts to make sure that justice is pursued. Now, having said that, also as a prosecutor, beyond a reasonable doubt, it's not an easy task. This could be, should be, they may have gone in, they didn't go in, who knows? This is a real simple, actually not a very difficult case to prosecute. You take the documents that the president was alleged to have had, you look at the names, list of the people that are on there, you look at the people that have been either harmed or injured, and you start to match them up one-on-one. Good old-fashioned law enforcement, hard work, investigations, procedures, grand jury, subpoenas, and ultimately, if the law was broken, an indictment. But just because people may have been there, that's not enough. They're going to have to get more.
So, Cheri, politically speaking, I heard Senator Graham and a lot of others decrying people who were rioting in the streets because they were angry about a George Floyd prosecution, or they were angry that it wasn't going far enough. And here they are saying, look out, there's going to be rioting in the streets. Now, I don't know if Senator Graham meant this, because I'm not in his head. I don't know if he meant, gee, I'm worried about this and it's going to happen. That shouldn't, stop anyone from doing their job prosecuting. Or if he meant, don't do this because, it's not right for the country. He sure didn't say that about the George Floyd prosecution and the rioters in the streets. He told them all to get the hell off the streets and stop burning down Wendy's, as most of us wanted them to do.
Well, first of all, I want to commend you for the way you explained all of this. It's complicated material, and I think if everybody could watch how you explained this, they'd understand it, and they need to, because the reason that Lindsey Graham thinks, oh, they're going to be rioting in the street. First of all, they won't be rioting in the street, but people don't understand it. So they're more apt to believe the quick soundbite. They're out to get me. They're being unfair, instead of following the facts. And as the facts start rolling out, and I think it's going to get a lot worse, frankly. We know now where there's reports that Trump used to travel around with these boxes of information to foreign countries where our enemies were there, and they'd be in hotel rooms. So I think there's a lot more that's coming out. I think the people that kind of suspect this or know this are trying to prepare us for worse information coming out, as if it can get any worse. But Lindsey Graham has changed. I knew Lindsey Graham when he was a freshman House member, and I was communications director for the House Education and Workforce Committee. He was a freshman. I used to help him out. He changed under Trump. Something happened to him on that golf trip. So when he says there's going to be rioting in the street, he's calling for rioting in the street. He is echoing what Donald Trump has been saying. It's not going to happen. It didn't work out for them very well on January 6th, and it's not going to work out for them now. I think that they are flailing. That, like I said, this is going to get a lot worse. Politically, it was downright stupid for him to say that, to even suggest that, just as it is when Trump does it.
It worries me when that gets out, because some people take it as a signal. And on January 6th, a lot of people took that as a signal, no matter what they believed or didn't. You know, give them hell, you know, fight like hell.
One location. That was just one location, though. This rioting in the streets all over the country is just not going to happen. I think they're wishing it would happen. It's not.
Well, I sure hope it doesn't, but I am not as optimistic in that respect. Okay, thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.